Hello, traders. Kazavini coming to you from theclosingprint.com, April the 13th, 2025. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we start off the week with bank earnings from Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, and Citi. In addition, we had some after-hours tariff exclusions announced by the White House in smartphones, computers, and semiconductor equipment. So that should help Apple and other tech companies. That leaves us with 7 bullish indicators, 10 neutral, and 3 bearish to start the week. Markets are still very directionless, with short-term resistance at 5,400 and support at 4,800 as positive gamma showed up to end the week. S&P 500 is still quite directionless as we look for that 4,800 to 5,000 level to hold. We do have resistance overhead forming at 5,400 up to 5,500. RSI is rising. Stochastics and MACD are supportive, with exclusions coming out after the close on Friday in smartphones, computers, and chip equipment, which should help some of the tech names like Apple and Nvidia for starters. With Nvidia still below the Wednesday high, looking for both of these stocks among other tech names to rally this week on that news, which would help the New York FANG components get back above the 21-day perhaps this week, and for indicators like RSI, MACD, and stochastics to continue as we look for price action to move back above Wednesday's high for starters. Small caps were one of the laggards, so we'd like to see small caps pick up as well, though with the 10-year yield rising pretty rapidly, that's going to put a headwind on small caps in the short term. So I'd be looking at big cap stocks this week, unless we see the 10-year starting to drop off. Breadth and volatility have been stretched to extremes. We're watching breadth for the S&P 500, mid caps, small caps, and NASDAQ in descending order to rise this week, supporting price action. Looking for a retest of Wednesday's high, hopefully taking that out early in the week, with a watchful eye on XII, the Arca Institutional Index, to give us an idea of what institutions are up to. We'd like to see this rally back above Wednesday's high as well. These are the 75 stocks most commonly held by institutions in their core portfolios. So this will be a heads up if this index starts to rise early in the week. The big issue this week will be credit markets again. We're watching for any kind of cracks in that area, with the 30-year yield rising markedly last week, as we watch for any signs that the Fed might intervene, and why we don't want to go into the market blindly in the weeks to come. Keep an eye on credit and listen for any kind of clues from the Fed or changes in the credit markets this week. Yields move higher across the board. We want to see these retreat as we look for junk bonds and high yield corporate to rise, further narrowing the spread between high yield corporate and treasury yields. If we see that happen, we could see a much needed relief in the equity markets. Commodities also dropped off, while gold and silver continue to rally. Gold's a bit extended, while we look for silver to catch up with gold in the short term. At the same time, we did see West Texas crude and Brent pull back, along with gasoline, so that should help the consumer in the short term. We had a significant bounce in sectors with high expectations for financials. If we can see a positive response from the banks, like we had with JP Morgan last week, this should help the markets, with Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, and Citigroup reporting, as we look for this sector rotation to continue starting off on Monday. In addition, we should see a pretty decent boost in tech, with more exclusions maybe this week and more resolution on tariffs negotiations. This is beginning to feel more like an opportunity in the short term. We especially want to keep an eye on all these gold stocks that are on the IBD 50 this week. Many of the stocks in the IBD 50 have broken back above their 20 or remain above their 20 and 50-day moving averages. Some of them from the gold sector like AEM and Barrick Gold. Some financials like AJ Gallagher moving back above its 20 and 50-day on Friday, with the company reporting a beat on March 20th. Cal-Maine, egg producer, back above the 20 and 50-day. Copart, an auctioneer that provides vehicle sellers with services to process and sell vehicles over the internet, with strong price action Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Note it's above the Wednesday high when the president announced it was a good time to buy stocks, with the stock rallying on strong volume. Doesn't report until May 22nd. Eldorado Gold and DRD Gold, along with Goldfields stocks highlighting on the IBD 50 this week. Clear Secure in the security industry, back above its 200-day moving average, moved back above its 20 and 50-day early last week, then rallied on Wednesday when the president announced a good time to buy stocks. Note the price is above that Wednesday high. RSI is rising. MACD and stochastics are turning and very bullish, looking for more volume. The company doesn't report again until May 28th, showing significant earnings improvement, growth at 443%, with revenue growth at 20.7%. Keep an eye on Clear Secure. This might be a good one this week. Some of the aerospace and military related names also showing strength, like LOAR. This is a niche provider of aerospace and defense components. Very strong price action last week. On Monday, jumping back above the 50-day and closing above the 200-day on Tuesday, following through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Watch the volume. We'll look for LOAR to continue this week. Newmont Mining, another one that caught an upgrade last week. I would like to enter it on any kind of pullback that shows up as a higher low in the short term. OR and Randgold, both of those gold stocks showing up on the IBD 50. Watch for Sprouts Farmers Market to follow through. This one's looking like it could push out of this base and make a move to the upside in the short term. SMPL, Simply Good Foods, back above its 20 and 50-day moving average, also above Wednesday's high. Noteworthy, RSI rising, volume increasing, MACD and stochastics also very bullish, with volume above average. The company reports again in July, so earnings are off in the distance. The company has pretty decent earnings growth, 16.7%, revenue growth 15%. I love when all four of these metrics are bullish, and the stock is moving higher. Watch for Simply Good Foods to find some resistance in this area, perhaps create a flag, and then follow through in the weeks to come. Stocks that showed strength last week, like JP Morgan, looking for a follow-through this week with calls and call verticals, while I'm also looking for follow-through in stocks like Microsoft coming off the lows, looking for a move back above the 50-day moving average and that Wednesday high, and looking for NVIDIA to recover off of the lows that we put in last week. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com with your weekend video newsletter for Sunday the 13th. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 12 midnight on the East Coast, around 9 o'clock on the West Coast, so be sure to check your inbox for that. Have a great weekend, what's left of it. Take care, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao.